Hey everyone, this episode is powered by a new sponsor that is Amana, and they are the region's first and fastest growing regulated all-in-one trading and investing app. So look guys, whether you're looking into invest in US stocks like Apple or Tesla, or MENA giants like ADNOC or Salik, Amana puts the financial markets on your fingertips. It includes gold, foreign exchange, ETFs, futures, commodities, and guess what guys? They have over 375 cryptocurrencies, and this makes them the biggest crypto selection in the region. Now for the Blockchain DXP listeners guys, if you want to go and build long-term wealth without thinking about it every day, explore Amana's pre-built auto investment plans, and all you have to do is set your monthly budget, choose your preferred asset category, and let Amana automate the investing for you. Zero fees, zero lockups, 100% customizable. And here's the thing guys, funding your account is easier than ever. You can fund your account with Apple Pay, Google Pay, credit cards, instant bank deposits, and even crypto wallets. No friction and no hassles. And the best part is guys, let's say if you need support, you would absolutely love Amana for this, because they offer 24/6 human customer service, as well as a personalized sales support, real people, real help, and the customer support is in English as well as in Arabic. And for the Blockchain DXP listener and community guys, I do have something really exclusive for you. What you can do is register with Amana using the code Blockchain DXP, or you can also use the link that is in the show notes below. And here's the best part guys, once you register, fund your account with a minimum of $100 and at least go ahead and make one trade, and then you'll receive a $100 trading bonus credit to your account the following month. But look guys, it's real important to note, the bonus is non-withdrawable. It is there to help you trade and learn. So look guys, if you're looking for a transparent, powerful and easy to use app, that's Amana for you. So what are you waiting for guys? Download the app now, or you can also visit the website that is amana.app, and don't forget to use the code Blockchain DXP. And Amana guys is all markets one app. Next guys, I'm happy to announce that Blockchain DXP is the official media partner with one of the OGs in the cryptocurrency and blockchain event space, and that is Blockchain Futuristic Conference taking place in Florida this year, as well as ETH Women taking place simultaneously. And trust me guys, this is an event that you don't want to miss, isn't it? Because for the very first time, North America's most immersive Web3 event is heading to the United States of America, and the Blockchain Futurist Conference and ETH Women event is actually taking place between the 5th and 6th of November. And the location is absolutely stunning guys. It is taking place at Guitar Hotel at Hard Rock, which is in Hollywood, Florida. That's right guys, palm trees, panels, and the biggest mind in blockchain and cryptocurrencies all in one place. So there will be multi-stage panels, NFT galleries, DeFi showcases, hand-on tech demos, metaverse experiences, even outdoor VIP cabanas, and quite a lot more. And the Guitar Hotel at Hard Rock guys is one of the most iconic venues in the country. So look guys, if you're in the Web3 space, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, or even artificial intelligence space, or just want to do some serious networking, this is the place that you got to be. And to all of you Blockchain DXP listeners guys, we have something really interesting for you, because you can get a 25% off the tickets. So just use the code DXP25, and the link to the event as well as the code is in the show notes below. And as an official media partner, I'll be doing exclusive live coverage, interviews, behind the scenes access, and I will be spotlighting some of the most exciting projects shaping the future of decentralized finance tech. So if you're at the venue guys, definitely come and say hi. Maybe we can catch up for a coffee as well. So listen guys, the code is DXP25, and by using this code you will be eligible for a 25% discount. And the event is taking place between the 5th and 6th of November 2025 at the iconic Guitar Hotel at Hard Rock, that is in Hollywood, Florida. And in the show notes below guys, there's all contact details for Blockchain Futuristic Conference Florida 2025, as well as ETH Women. And look guys, this is the future of blockchain technology brought into life, so don't just read about it, be there and head to the website that is futuristconference.com, and go ahead and use the code DXP25. So see you at the event. Next, Advanced Media. Advanced Media guys is the largest distributor of professional video, photo, broadcast and cinematic equipment and accessories in the Middle East and MENA region. With over 2 decades of experience, Advanced Media is now the largest distributor in the Middle East, representing more than 100 recognizable brands, including brands such as Zeiss, DJI, Hasselblad, Red and Rode. As a matter of fact guys, the very mic that I'm recording is being sponsored by Advanced Media as well, and Advanced Media has showrooms in Saudi Arabia and services as well. Looks like they're definitely taking the Middle East by storm, And here's the beautiful thing, guys. They are taking corporate social responsibility very seriously, and they are focusing on 3 P's, that is people, planet, and prosperity. Now listen, guys, if you do want to find out more information regarding the statement of corporate social responsibility, check out the website, that is www.amt.tv. And here's the beautiful thing, guys. They also want to be a leader and set an example and reputation as a pioneer and member of the community. And in doing so, guys, they also have an AMT scholarship with SAE Institute in Dubai, UAE. So definitely check it out. And also, guys, Advanced Media is committed to persistently developing, organizing, and hosting training workshops, seminars, and community events that educate, inform, and familiarize consumers with new equipment and the latest technological advances. So listen, guys, do one thing. If you do want to support this channel, go to the website, that is www.amt.tv, and follow the social media channels as well. All of the details are in the show notes below. Next, Startup OI is global one-tech platform for tech. It offers global high-paying tech jobs with flexibility in working time and location, global free tech events, and tech networks to connect with global like-minded engineers. A brilliant platform to listen to the tech experts in Metaverse and to grab their insights. Now listen, all you have to do is download the app Startup OI. If you're using an Android version, go to Google Store and App Store for iOS devices. Alternatively, you can also click on the show notes below to download Startup OI. Next, guys, listen, if you're into fitness, if you're into adventure, if you want to do something wild but still want to keep your health in check, there is a new podcast in town, a podcast focusing on obstacle course race in the Middle East. The podcast is called the Race Pace Podcast. So check out the Race Pace Podcast across all leading platforms. And the Race Pace Podcast is a peer-to-peer community-driven podcast where they talk all about obstacle course race in the Middle East, from Sandstorm to Spartan Race, from Tough Mudder to Desert Warrior Challenge, and also the Government Gulf Games, and quite a lot more. The podcast has interviews with athletes locally and internationally to get inside scoop on how athletes prepare for obstacle course race. In the podcast, they also talk about interesting stories on why they are motivated to do obstacle course race. And that's not all. They also plan to release 7 NFTs, and these NFTs are no ordinary. These NFTs will represent every emirate in the UAE. And listen, guys, these NFTs are going to be absolutely massive. So do one thing, go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go to any leading podcasting platform, check out the Race Pace Podcast across all leading platforms. And finally, guys, not your keys, not your crypto. If you have dabbled with cryptocurrencies and now are seriously getting to protect your cryptocurrencies, there is no better way to protect it by using a hardware wallet. And this is where Ledger Wallet kicks in. And Ledger Wallets are hardware cryptocurrency wallets made by Ledger, a company headquartered in Paris, France. And Ledger's hardware wallets are multi-currency wallets that are used to store private keys for cryptocurrencies offline. And Ledger offers 2 hardware wallets, the Ledger Nano and Ledger Nano X wallets. They are world-class experts with extensive crypto security backgrounds. They continuously look for vulnerabilities in Ledger products in a constant effort to improve the level of security. Now, in today's world, securing these digital assets is a critical challenge, and this is where Ledger kicks in. So click the link below to buy your hardware wallet and support this podcast. It is a brilliant way to support this podcast. So what are you waiting for? The link is in the show notes below.
Hey everyone, it's George from Blockchain DXB and Bitcoin DXB, and we have Justin Harper. So firstly, Justin, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Considering the fact, you had a busy weekend, isn't it, with High Rocks?
Yeah, I did. I took part in the High Rocks Fitness Challenge tournament in Abu Dhabi on Saturday. It was pretty hardcore. Took me a little while to recover, but it's good to have that, work-life balance to push yourself when it comes to sport, physical stuff, as well as obviously, in the workplace as well. So it's probably just as much effort mentally to prepare for a chat with you, George, about tokenization, because I know you know your subject inside out when it comes to, open blockchain, when it comes to crypto, tokenization. So I think you'll keep me on my toes mentally, I think, today, like I was kept on my toes higher up.
Yeah, because there's quite a lot going on, particularly in the world of tokenization. So I thought what we can do in today's episode is discuss what the definition of tokenization is. I'm curious to understand what your definition of tokenization is. why is there so much of hype regarding tokenization? And we'll go and touch base on BlackRock and the impact on tokenization. We'll also go and touch base on why is it that Dubai is leading the race so far as tokenization is concerned. And more importantly, Justin, what I want to share is, does tokenization actually work on permission blockchain, which I personally think is just another name for Microsoft Excel, or can it actually work on open blockchain? So probably, towards the start of the session, we'll start in that. And later on, we might have Sharon, who is the CEO and founder of Lumishare. He's currently working on tokenization for a renewable project. And we'll also go and touch base on some of the OGs, and some of them are actually from Dubai, but they're doing the operations from other countries. So we'll definitely go and touch base on all of these things. So let's kickstart by asking you a question, Justin. How would you define tokenization?
Yeah, no, thanks for obviously inviting me on the show. And tokenization is very much the buzzword. It's kind of like tokenization and AI.
Yeah.
Just really, really taken off. While they kind of obviously always existed in the background in the last couple of years, they've really come to the fore. AI, obviously, you can't move for some new AI app or controversy around AI. And tokenization as well, as you say, and Dubai and the UAE really trying to make a name for itself in the tokenization field. So for me, really, I think it's that first step is in trying to explain tokenization to someone who knows nothing about it, and that's the challenge we're going to have with it. So, I mean, in the simplest form, it's the process of converting a real-world asset like property, which is a classic example, into a digital token on the blockchain. Already you've got this conversion, right, real world into a token. Okay, I can kind of get my head around that. And then you say, well, where's it gone, this digital token? Well, it lives on the blockchain. And of course, we know what the blockchain is, but again, it's another explanations needed of what the blockchain is. And then you hope that people will understand how the blockchain works. And then that these tokens are just, a small fraction of the whole asset, which means, it can be bought at a cheaper price and it can be traded and stored digitally. So, understandably, it's a hurdle for some people, but it's got so much potential. That's my definition of tokenization. It's not a simple thing to break down the definition of it, but that's my simplest way.
I think you covered pretty much everything, because it is the ability to put real world assets into blockchain, isn't it? But the big question I have, and this is coming from my background in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, does it actually work on permission blockchain, or does it actually work on open blockchain? So I thought, let's just quickly run through something called as permission blockchain versus open blockchain. Now, when you talk about open blockchain, there are a couple of pillars of open blockchain, and we'll just very briefly run through this. Ideally speaking, Justin, this is something, everyone should be aware about it. Because according to me, when you talk about blockchain technology as such, it is relatively slow, and it does have a lot of challenges, and we'll touch base on something called as blockchain trilemma problem. Now, when you hear the buzzword about tokenization, I am anticipating that, they work on an open blockchain and they fulfill some of these pillars, or they should technically fulfill all of these pillars of open blockchain. That is it open source, which means the code where it is written, is it completely open source for absolutely anyone can go and check it, and you can check it via GitHub. The second one, Justin, and this is one question I have, particularly when you talk about tokenization. When you talk about blockchain technology, or Bitcoin for that matter, you don't need any permission to go ahead and use Bitcoin. But when you talk about tokenization, particularly when you talk about real world assets, let's say buying property, or if it is sold on a secondary market, is it truly permissionless, or do you require KYC? You need to go ahead and do your AML. So we'll touch base on that. The third one is, borderless. Now, when you talk about Bitcoin, anyone can go and do transactions absolutely anywhere in the world. As a matter of fact, Blockstream, they have actually done a transaction in space. Who's to say, maybe in a couple of years we might actually go to Mars. So when you talk about tokenization, particularly real world assets, one big question I have is, let's say I go ahead and buy a token of a property. Can I go ahead and resell it to a person, let's say, who's from a sanctioned country? And the answer does seem no at this point of time, because, you're kind of breaking the law. And right now, with so much of political chaos going on, I think we need to factor all of these things. Then you also have something called as censorship resistant. Are these transactions censorship resistant? Bitcoin transactions just cannot be censored. Now, when you talk about stable coins, you can make an argument that these can be censored. And finally, it is neutral. The ability to go ahead and make do a transaction, is it the same in Dubai? Or let's say, is it different, let's say in US or in Canada? I'm pretty much sure when you talk about tokenization, the experience is different. But when you talk about Bitcoin, Justin, you just take your phone, send your Bitcoin, the end. So the experience of using Bitcoin is pretty much the same all over the world. But regarding tokenization, you need to do KYC, you need to do AML, prior permission, there is an amount limit set, quite a lot of things. And all transactions of Bitcoin and open blockchain is publicly verifiable for absolutely anyone to go and validate it. Now, regarding tokenization, because most of these are built on open blockchain, you can make an argument that all of these transactions can be validated by absolutely anyone in the world. So we'll go ahead and touch base on some of the finer details. But I wanted to ask you, Justin, and this is because you were part of Crypto Radio as well. Have you heard of this terminology called blockchain trilemma problem by any chance at all?
Yeah, I have. I mean, it is one of those OG sort of conversations. You know, it's got to, and that's the thing that surprised me. It's got to be scalable, right?
Yeah.
Big enough to be able to, that scalability. Decentralized, which is obviously a core part of the whole sort of blockchain ethos, I guess. And then security is obviously a big thing. It's got to be secure. But what surprised me was that nobody has ever been able to solve that trilemma.
True.
I was very surprised that, no blockchain. I thought those were easily achievable, those three things. It could be scalable, it could be decentralized, and it could be secure, but no one seemed to do it. So I'd heard of it, but I thought it had been solved. I know it was still a problem.
I think it might persist for at least another 5 to maybe a decade unless we come up with new cryptographic methods or some newer technology. Now, when you talk about tokenization at grand scale, I think we need to be aware of these factors such as blockchain trilemma problem. And you're right, I don't think so any project who has successfully solved this thing. They claim to solve it, but when you look at the finer details, they are either on test phase, they are in a beta phase, and the blockchain trilemma problem unfortunately still exists. And when you talk about tokenization being, at a grand scale where each and every person is tokenizing everything, that is where the problem arises. Now, the big question, Justin, is why do you think there is so much of hype regarding tokenization now? Because Ethereum was built exactly for the same purpose. So ideally, all of these things should have happened at least a decade ago, 2015-16 era. What do you think is the main reason for the hype of tokenization now?
Yes, good question. I mean, going back to that thing about AI, and AI has been with us for a while, and we know that. But this year is just real, and ChatGPT didn't just come around this year, and open source. It's just really taken off, and maybe it's just caught the public's attention.
Yeah.
And tokenization, sometimes we have to be careful because we sit here in Dubai, and we can be accused of being in a bit of a bubble. And we know Dubai really been pushing tokenization.
Yeah.
Whether it's from Dubai land, whether it's from the private sector and individual players with real world assets. And I just wonder when you look at other cities and other hubs, whether they are so bullish about tokenization. So I think on a local scale, it's just been government-driven tokenization, and everybody's had to, whether it's from VARA or the regulators, pretty much people have been caught up in that stream, in that wave. And so I just wonder, we're trying to push it here in the UAE, but are other countries so bullish on tokenization? And so that's what I think it is when the government in the UAE and Dubai get behind something, it has a lot of impact, and people have to, I say, get on board with it. And they're like, okay, is there an opportunity here to tokenize everything? I wrote a story a while ago about racehorses, tokenizing racehorses, and there's, it's a huge culture of horse racing here as well. Before it was debt and collateralized debt, and it was very financial driven, and it was very, niche. And now it's become far more popular. And I think when property started to be tokenized, people can relate to a property. Offices and tower blocks, yes, I can still relate to that physical version and the digital version. But then we started to see real estate being tokenized. And I think that's really for me, the crossover when people are, I see what you mean. I can't afford a whole house on the palm, but I can afford a fraction of it. How do I securely, safely buy a fraction of it? So I think it's really now people are starting to get their head around it and understand it. And we're probably going to see more and more launches. And that's when it becomes more, it's funny because it's a real world asset. And I think now it's becoming part of the real world. People can understand it and relate to it. And I think definitely for the 12 to 18 months, we're going to see more and more tokenization launches because of that simplicity factor. More and more people can actually start to understand what tokenization is. And before it was just between banks, it was just a sort of institutional sort of tool really for banks to tokenize debt and credit.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is absolutely spot on, and I really like the fact that you gave an example of Dubai properties being tokenized, and you did interview someone, I believe it was some stake, where they're doing the same thing, but they're not tokenized, they're not using blockchain technology as such. So we'll definitely go and touch base on that. Now, according to me, Justin, the only reason why I see so much of buzz, not necessarily in Dubai, even in Europe, because MiCA, they have some strong regulations regarding tokenization, is because of Larry Fink. Because the day the Bitcoin ETF got approved, I think it was the very same day, he did actually have an interview with CNBC, and he said that he's not that excited regarding Bitcoin ETF, but the next buzzword is tokenization. And immediately in my Blockchain DXB podcast, I was like, that's it, the next hype is tokenization. And turned out, I wasn't surprised that I was right, because via LinkedIn, in just a matter of a few weeks and months, I'm seeing everyone becoming experts on tokenization. So right now, every second news that I see, particularly from UAE, is all about tokenization. And at a macro level, Justin, I mean, what I would really recommend listeners to do is, Larry Fink, he writes a letter to the CEOs all across the world. And this is probably the first time in 2025 he's talked about tokenization. And he's mentioned the word tokenization quite a few times. And when you talk about tokenization, BlackRock, they have launched the BIDL project as well, which is BUIDL. And that has got phenomenal success. They launched it with Securitize, and they crossed $1 billion in assets under management. And this was, I believe, in the first quarter of 2025. They gave a hefty return of $17 million. So there is a lot of hype surrounding tokenization. And as you mentioned, that the Dubai government, they're definitely capitalizing on this hype. Because I think BlackRock, they're starting their office in Abu Dhabi as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I interviewed someone on the digital asset side.
Yep.
I went into the BlackRock offices actually, and they are. They're obviously a huge player. They're the world's biggest asset manager. They see a lot of capacity, a lot of potential here in the Middle East, and they've got this sort of this fund, this BIDL thing, and I think they were telling me, it hit 1 billion in assets under management in a very short period of time, and that's obviously off the back of its own ETF. With Bitcoin, it seems to be whatever they do, people trust them and they quickly get money in. So BlackRock are really a good bellwether for what people are doing, I guess, or where the market's going, because they're so big and so influential. When they launch something or say this is where we're headed, people will follow, and them themselves will just get so much money flowing into that fund or that platform. And as you mentioned, Larry Fink is a very influential character in the investment space, and he has this newsletter, and it reminds me of Warren Buffett, at Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
And of course, he's still around now, but I guess he's not so influential. But that letter used to be so well received that people were, desperate to read it as soon as it came out. And maybe now, I think as you said in your notes, maybe Larry Fink's letter is just taken over from that. People really want to know what the CEO of BlackRock, the world's biggest, fund manager, thinks or is predicting or anticipating. So if he says tokenization is the way to go, he's almost sort of like driven the market that way.
Yeah, true. I 100% agree. And that's one of the reasons why even I shared it to you. And what I tend to do is, Justin, that letter, I send it to my niece. She's just 15 years old. And I ask her just to read it and see what happens over the next coming years. And most often than not, whatever he mentions in that letter, not just, at a business level, even at a state level, even at philosophical level, a lot of political chaos that drives is based on that letter. So listeners, what you can do is in the show notes, I'll definitely go ahead and mention that letter. Now let's talk about tokenization. So what I thought, Justin, to do is just lay down certain steps on how tokenization actually works. And this is just a broader step. I'm pretty much sure, because of legal and jurisdictions, there might be finer details to it as well. So essentially, when you talk about tokenization, Justin, there are 7 steps. So step 1 is, let's say, setting up a legal asset, and this is something called as SPV, that is special purpose vehicle. So essentially what it is, a property, a residential or a commercial property, is placed under a legal entity called a special purpose vehicle. I'm not sure in Dubai if Prypco, I think they might be part of an SPV. So essentially what that is, it is a legal wrapper that ensures that the token holders can claim ownership rights or profits from the property. Now, it might sound really right, but when you go back to the pillars of open blockchain, that's where the question arises. Is it permissionless, or there is a legal entity that you need to go and then get approval from? And that is where this step 2 kicks in, isn't it, Justin, which is about KYC and AML. Now, what's your thought about KYC and AML? Do you think it should merge with real-world asset tokenization, or should it be on open blockchain?
It's a good question, and it shows you just how things have to evolve, how Bitcoin evolved from being decentralized to now, people might argue it's quite centralized, with government, buying a bit, sovereign wealth funds and institutions, big institutions like BlackRock. And the same with the whole, buying property, tokenization, and this whole idea of open blockchain. And as you mentioned, KYC, doing your know your customer and your anti-money laundering, which is obviously a key part of what governments and banks have to do, is to really understand the threats and the risks involved when they're dealing with clients, takes away that permissionless aspect. You need to get permission, right?
Yeah.
You need the wallets that people have to be whitelisted. They have to know
yes.
Where the source is. So already it's like, well, you've just defeated any sort of hopes of being open blockchain. It isn't open because it's not permissionless. You need permission because I need to run.
Yeah.
And we know KYC checks are not just a quick tick of a box. You've got to fully understand where the funds come from, the history and identity of the customer, which is how you know your customer. Otherwise, you get a huge fine as the bank or the finance institution. So, I mean, I think it's, in a way, it's not really a question. It's like it is. You've lost permissionless straight away as soon as you start asking for that information. But I guess, again, the way it's evolving is you've got like this hybrid model. So it's a little bit of open, a little bit of permission, a little bit of permission. So you've got this hybrid model, and I think that, I don't know what the phrase is it regulated DeFi? So DeFi is obviously decentralized finance.
That's an interesting word, yeah. Regulated DeFi, that's a perfect word.
Regulated, almost like regulated, unregulated. In a way, parts of it are unregulated, but some of it has to be regulated. And so I think that's the way it is. We're just moving to a hybrid model, and you can't be fully decentralized. Maybe you can't be fully open, open blockchain. There's going to be an element of permission, a layer of permission as governments, start to crack down a little bit.
Yeah, and what you're saying is absolutely right. Upon, you need to get your wallet whitelisted first, and only then you can go out with the next step, that is token minting. This is the third step where, the tokens are actually essentially broken down into few parts. So let's say if you have a property by 1,000 square feet, you can break it down, register each square feet by square feet into token. The other word for that is even fractionalization. And essentially what now tokenization is working is, Justin, these tokens which are fractionalized, they are then put on open blockchain. That say this could be Ethereum, this could be Solana and Polygon. But again, you also need to factor in the whole blockchain trilemma problem. Now, on paper, they would say that, blockchain trilemma problem is solved, but the problem still exists as of now. So essentially, when you talk about where the open blockchain kicks in, this is where after the token is minted, then all of these transactions are recorded on an open blockchain. So when you talk about tokenization, essentially it is more of a ledger which is open for absolutely anyone to go ahead and check, isn't it? But one big question which I have, and I'm not sure the answer to this is, let's say when Prypco goes ahead and launches their first token sale, I'm pretty sure the customers, they don't have to create a private key, they don't have a wallet, they just sign up with their email address. At least that's what I'm thinking of. So I'm not sure at this point of time. Maybe when Sharon joins in, I'll go ahead and ask him that question. How is it that token which is on the open blockchain, how is that connected to, let's say, my KYC? Is it done through just an email address, or there is a custodial service? But now going back to the fourth point, the next point, which is token sale. And this is the primary offering. And this is the area where tokens are offered to verified investors. So again, it is not for the public, only for verified investors. And I think Prypco, which is by the Mark Group, their minimum investment is $2,000. But Justin, you interviewed Stake, where they don't do anything with open blockchain, and their minimum investment is 500 dirham, isn't it?
Yeah. So I interviewed the CEO and co-founder of Stake a while ago. I think that was just before we had the Prypco and the DLD offering came on. With me, it comes, a big thing for me is the user experience. And we know in crypto, the user experience isn't brilliant. Some are getting better, but sometimes it's very confusing. I just really like the Stake user experience, how you buy that, you take out your investment, you quickly onboard your cash, you buy a fraction of a property and it tells you where the property is. It might be in Marina, it might be on Palm, it might be in Dubai Hills, and then it shows you, and then you get to see the interest rate you earn, and then you can work out from the gross yield, the net yield, what their fees are. So for me, it's pretty transparent, and you once a month, you get a little ping and it tells you how much interest you've earned. And so I really like the setup of it. But yeah, you're right. It's still fractionalizing. The theory is still there to split up the property into small chunks. But yeah, it doesn't live on the blockchain like the Prypco one does. But I just wonder whether Stake will end up moving to the blockchain eventually.
They could possibly do that as well. So essentially, what they can do is take all of the details of the property owner's rights and then put it on an open blockchain. But I'm just trying to figure out what is the benefit that they have. Maybe the only benefit that Stake would have is they might go out and launch their own token, and as an incentive to the people who have bought the property from them, they might give them, let's say, 5% or 10%. Then that particular token goes onto exchanges. People go out and buy and sell these tokens. But according to me, I don't think so. We don't need to even do that because it works perfectly fine. And it, as you mentioned, the user experience is definitely much better.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I don't know what the fee is for Stake compared to the Prypco one.
Yeah.
All I do know is that with the Prypco one is it sells out in minutes.
Yeah.
It's launched, and I think the very first one was at a discount to try and encourage people. So the property was sold at a discount. So already you were making money if you bought it. And it was like, I don't think you need to do that because demand is so high, you do not need to give any more incentives.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're on the second property or the second tranche or even the third now. All I do know is they sell out in minutes because it's government backed. It's got the DAMAC sort of,
brand name
there as well. And so it's like, for me, I can't compare Stake with Prypco because I'm not in Prypco because I never get a chance to invest in it. And that's what I mentioned about this the word is democratizing.
Yeah.
Tokenization is supposed to democratize for everybody to be on the same platform and to have access to the same assets regardless of their cost because you're just buying a small fraction. And with this, I have not seen, I don't know who those people are, those lucky people who invested in the Prypco, but I have not seen democratization when I physically myself cannot invest in it yet because I'm too slow or other people are ahead of me in the queue. I haven't bought a property cheaply.
Yeah, and the prices are fixed as well, isn't it? It's fixed 2,000 dirham, so it's not that someone is paying higher for that, isn't it?
No, exactly. We're all paying the same price, but you're just shut out of the market. So that's the thing with with a popular thing like that and democratization. Everybody wants to do it, but there isn't enough properties around. I don't know when they'll start to expand it. So that's the issue. Is it just the select few, who are getting access to these things? So tokenization, in theory, is a great thing, leveling the playing field. We can all buy, really big, expensive properties. But in practice, about that scalability, is there enough to go around that everybody can still own a piece of a property or not? And I think right now there's not. I'm not going to use the word unfair, but it's too random how you can get access to that scheme right now. And I don't know if that will put people off or whether they'll quickly expand based on the demand. But as you know, the demand is clearly there. A lot of people like this idea of property, tokenization and knowing it's backed by the government and otherwise wouldn't have been able to buy those properties. So they're definitely onto something. I just think we need to quickly scale it up.
Yep, and once you get access to the tokens, this is where the next step kicks in, where the token holders are beneficial owners. I mean, they may receive rental income, dividends, or even voting rights, and this depends on the different structure. Let's say if it is for renewable energy, I'm sure they might be getting some voting rights. Now, the next point, or rather the next step, and this is regarding trading. Now, I have this big question, Justin, let's say if I go out and buy a token on the secondary market, can I go out and sell it freely? And let's say if I were to sell it freely, what if the other person is from a sanctioned country? So that, and particularly now we're talking about real world assets, it is connected to an actual property. So I assume that the answer to that is no, because the secondary market will only be for a pool of verified customers. Or maybe what you can do is in the smart contract that they have, let's say I go out and buy this token, let's say from the Mar Group or any other property. In that smart contract itself, it would actually state that only verified customers can go and buy it, or you can sell it to so-and-so people, which again sounds perfect and fine. But when you talk about, the pillars of open blockchain, it kind of goes against the whole ethos of why Bitcoin was created, isn't it? You just go and do the transaction. But when you talk about regulations, and this is where, we have to be very careful when you talk about tokenization, particularly in the world of regulations. So ownership is definitely there, but I think at this point of time, it can be sold only on a regulated secondary market. And let's say if any of the listeners do have more information regarding this, so can it actually go on Uniswap someday? That'd be absolutely great. And finally, the seventh step is, ongoing reporting and dividends. And this is something like you talked about in stake. So investors receive periodic updates, rental income, or even profits via smart contract. So it's going to be really interesting to see, what this narrative regarding tokenization is, and not just about real estate. It could be, let's say, even on renewable energy. What about cars? Are we going to see cars going to be tokenized as well? Because in my Blockchain DXB podcast, I heard about a company from Switzerland, which is surprisingly called a Shake.io, and they are working on luxury assets. I'm not sure if they are focusing on Dubai or Middle East Asia, because by the name it says that, they might be focusing on Shake.io. I think it is with the double E or double H. They are focusing on luxury assets and they're focusing on tokenization. So that is essentially what tokenization is. But Justin, there are a couple of challenges. Now, at step one, we talked about the SPV or special purpose vehicle. This is essentially a legal entity, isn't it? Could it be possible, because of what is going on in politics right now, particularly in US or even UK for that matter, there would be some political pressure to go and, let's say, suspend some nationalities who were previously not sanctioned? Let's say a few years down the line, there's a war between two countries. Could it be possible there will be political involvement and they will say, you know what, all of these token holders who have bought property, because we have KYC, we have AML, we know who they are, now we want you to go and freeze the account. What is your thoughts on that, Justin? Which is possible considering what is going on right now, isn't it?
Yeah, there is. There's all over the world. There's that pressure. Governments want to know more about people investing in their countries. I'm from the UK, and there's a big sort of backlash against the UK, and with foreigners buying property in the UK, living in the UK, and then they're now saying all of your global assets will be taxed. Because you're in the UK rather than just your UK assets there. Okay. And obviously with the US as well, there's pressure definitely when it comes to anti-money laundering and trying to find out more about people that investing in the country. So that's the thing. It was always going back to this point of blockchain and crypto being anonymous, being untraceable, and people being able to transact with one another without anybody knowing their identity. Now when we start to have tokenization and we have the smart contracts, that come with admin privileges, there is the danger now, which is very real, of governments intervening, regulators saying, look, this person, we whatever, they're from a sanctioned country or they've done something illegal, we now have the power to freeze their wallets. We could stop any transfers and we could seize the tokens as well. So those assets are not, are not safe from government intervention. And you think about it really, realistically, like with the whole Bitcoin and trying to bypass the banks and just be peer-to-peer, there was no way that the banks would ever let that happen. They always want a slice of the pie, and they always want to be involved in financial transactions. And the same with buying property or tokenization. Governments and regulators would not just stand by and say, oh, that's fine, we don't want to know who you are, where the money's coming from. We want to know your history, and if we think you're doing something illegal, we want the power to go to freeze those assets. So I think it was always going to happen. And now I don't think we've seen any big cases, but we probably will, where someone will do something where they think they're off the radar, and the government comes in and freezes all of their assets, not just their physical assets, but digital assets as well. Perhaps it's already happened perhaps it's already happened in the UK. I'm not sure, with sort of like some sort of dodgy Russian oligarchs or whatever there, where their digital assets have been frozen where before they thought perhaps they were untouchable.
Interesting, because let's say if it is purely on Bitcoin, then it becomes relatively difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but in this case, what the governments can do is they can directly go and approach the organization, and they can immediately stop it. And let's say if they go and start using stable coins, that danger is also there. They can directly go and approach the stablecoin issuer and ask them to go and put a complete freeze on their account. So what you're saying is absolutely spot on. So what I'll do is, Justin, in the show notes, I'll go ahead and mention the 7 steps. Now let's talk about some of the OGs of tokenization. And there's this company called Securitize. According to me, they're kind of like the OGs of tokenization now. Going back to 2017, that was this hype regarding ICOs. I'm sure you would have heard of ICOs back then, isn't it? People used to just copy-paste the white paper and just make millions of dollars. And at that point of time, the founders of Securitize, they used to put up YouTube videos, and they were saying that, forget ICO, security token or STO, security token offering, is the next big thing. They were waiting for it. Then it was DeFi era. Then there was this whole hype regarding NFTs, where people were buying, $1 million worth of NFTs. The prices have completely shuttered and down right now. But what our listeners can do is, they can go to this company called Securitize. And they are kind of like the leaders now in real-world asset tokenization. And they've worked with 2 of the giant companies, that is BlackRock and VanEck. And they have, I believe, over $45 billion in tokenized assets, and they have 550,000 live accounts. So if anyone wants to go and build things, or wants to learn or study more about tokenization, maybe Securitize is probably the best place to check. And if you go to the website, they say that tokenization aims to bring efficiency, liquidity, and accessibility to previously illiquid markets. But really, really nice stuff. But apart from that, Justin, there's also a company called as Blockstream. Now the founders, Blocksquare, the founders are from Dubai, but they are working currently in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. And just a few days ago, they sold $200 million worth of real estate property on tokenization. And the LinkedIn session that we are doing right now, Justin, I got the idea from the founder, because he's been doing LinkedIn live session for a very long time. I think they've done well over 100 sessions. I had him on the podcast as well. And I think, listeners, what they can do is they can go and look at Blocksquare. And I think he's based in Dubai. The founder is based in Dubai. It's a blockchain. Blocksquare is a company, Dubai-based company. And the next one is Prypco as well, isn't it, by the Mark Group that we talked about. They are managed by, I think it is by the Mark Group. And they are currently working with Dubai Land Department, and they have recorded quite a lot of really strong numbers, particularly when you talk about RWA assets. There's also Tokenvest, and hopefully by 11 o'clock we might have the CEO and founder of Lumishare. They are again based from Dubai, but they are focusing on Europe as well as the United States of America, and they have a strong backing with team members from BlackRock, and they're focusing more on renewable energy. And they did have some really interesting announcement on the 15th of July. So if any of the listeners wants to find out some of the OGs of the tokenization space, it is, Lumishare, Blocksquare, you have Securitize, and I'm pretty much sure there'll be loads of. There's Control Alt Delete, which has also started they've had a partnership with the Ripple. So they're working alongside a Ripple, and this is, I believe, with the MCC. Let's talk about some global tokenization numbers. And there are different reports that has been published regarding the tokenization hype. What is the biggest hype? Have you heard of any numbers, Justin, regarding tokenization? Because that's the big buzzword right now, isn't it? No one is talking about NFTs pretty much nowadays.
Yeah, that's the thing. NFTs have sort of not faded away, because there'll probably be a lot of people who say NFTs are very much alive and well, but they're not in the public's sort of, in the public eye as much as they were before, when you had all those huge prices being paid for, for NFTs now. They're obviously still trading, but definitely not at the volume and awareness that we've seen when they first sort of hit around, I don't know when it was, 2021, 2022. And yeah, tokenization has sort of moved into center stage now. Everybody wants to understand what they are, see how easy it is to invest, and see what can be tokenized. But yeah, as for figures, of course, this is where the hype comes in. We talked about, you could say for 2025 what the increase we've seen in tokenization, as in money coming into tokenized assets, and predictions for next year up to maybe even 2030. But that's a dangerous thing. They're predictions based on the market. We don't know if something else will come along that will, people will be like, actually, I think this is a better investment opportunity for me. Or, given the industry we're in, there's some kind of scandal, some kind of issue there where people have lost their money, or there's been a tokenization project that's taken everybody's money, or just collapses, and then obviously people will start to think twice about it. So for now, yes, the figures are pretty big, as in year-on-year growth predicted, but it's dangerous to predict too far ahead. I just think for this year we'll see record numbers of money flowing into tokenization, and especially here in Dubai and the UAE as well, as you mentioned, these homegrown companies that are sort of being set up here. Although even on that, there was I can't remember. Do you know there was this apparently a UAE based fund based here that invested in Donald Trump?
Aqua One Fund, isn't it?
Alpha One Fund, and that was the thing. And so people were like, the UAE again is showing how strong it's getting in the space. It's just a UAE based fund here now has invested 100 million USD into World Liberty Financial tokens, and then no one could find out anything about the company. And so we just have to be very careful with this expansion and this growth, as in where are these companies from? Are they genuinely based in the UAE? And we know in Web3 you don't need to be based anywhere really. Ripple are based here, but they can claim Dubai and the UAE now is one of their big hubs. So yeah, I think we just have to be careful about banging the drum for the UAE when some of these companies might not even be in the UAE.
Yeah, true. The hype is definitely there. And I very specifically remember, Justin, I think it was in 2017, I read an article by PwC, and they said in the matter of 5 years, the entire supply chain management will be in blockchain, and they were estimating only the supply chain management, the market cap, to be $5 trillion. Now, fast forward to 2025, the global market cap is not even touching the $4 trillion mark. And before the whole buzzword regarding tokenization, there was metaverse. So whenever I used to go to meetup events, they used to always quote a very specific McKinsey article where they talked about, $20 billion will be in metaverse. There are people are going to start living in the metaverse. Facebook changed the name from Facebook to Meta because of that as well. So when it comes to prediction, all these numbers sound really great. And I always tell my clients, all price predictions are 100% right 50% of the time. So, regarding tokenization, BCG is saying that, it could reach $16 to $68 trillion by 2030. You talked about year-on-year returns. It's 300%, some of them are saying. And they're seeing growth in tokenized US treasuries. And regarding real estate, there is also indication of $1.4 trillion by 2030. So the numbers, to be honest, are completely vague. People are just driving it with the hype. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see if there is some new technology that does actually come up that could actually shatter some of these numbers. Now, regarding UAE tokenization, I just wanted to share some specifics in terms of how the tokenization actually worked, and I thought just give the dates, because what happened is on 19th of March 2025, and this is where Dubai Land Department, they launched a project called as REES, REES Initiative, that is Real Estate Tokenization Project. And the government led the real estate tokenization. As you talked about, the government in Dubai is definitely leading the front, and their goal, Justin, is to have 60 billion dirham, which is $16 billion worth of properties tokenized by 2033. So this would account for approximately 7% of all real estate transactions in Dubai. So, could it be possible in the next few years we might be coming up with a better technology than, let's say, blockchain technology, which will very briefly touch base on Ripple and Hedera, if they have anything to do with blockchain technology as such. But and now just on the after 19, just a few months after that, on May, this is where Prypco, which is by Damar Group, they minted, their platform was officially launched, and they are the first VARA licensed tokenized real estate platform from the MENA region. And we talked about the $2,000 minimum investment. That is the minimum investment is have. But here's the interesting thing. All the transactions are denominated in UAE dirham. So as a customer, I don't have to think too much about it. I just go and pay my dirham. I really am not sure what happens in the actually I do know what happens in the background. They use Ripple, which is an XRPL ledger, and we'll talk about it, if Ripple does use blockchain technology as such, because Ripple has pretty much nothing to do with blockchain technology. So we'll go ahead and touch base on that as well. But yeah, and regarding the tokenization in UAE on 29th of May 2025, the Dubai Land Department, they also issued the world's first property token ownership certificate. And as you pointed out, about the sale was done in just a matter of a few hours. 224 investors participated. 70% of them were first-time property owners. And as per the data, it says that there were 44 nationalities which were involved. And the average investment for the property token ownership was 10,714. So if the listeners wants to find out more information regarding Prypco, you can go to prypco.com. It is by Amira Sajwani, who is the chairperson from Damar Group. So if you get a chance, Justin, will you go ahead and buy that particular token, or would you be a bit apprehensive? Would you be a bit apprehensive regarding it, or?
No, I still would like to invest in that token. I just want to be careful. Sometimes you could have a sprawling portfolio of all these different platforms.
Yeah.
And when you're investing in crypto, you might be with Binance, you might be with Guet, you might be with plenty of other ones as well, in that space, OKX. And then you're moving into tokenization, so I've got the stake, which is blockchain, but it's still tokenization. As I've got their app. Is it crowdsource funding as well? They've been doing property fractionalization for a while. Then this whole Prypco, which I think I downloaded, but I struggled because I think there were too many people trying to download it at the same time. There was a bit of a delay on it. And so it's just being able to manage it. So yes, my short answer is yes, I still would love to invest in a Prypco mint property. And I'm not sure how much I'd be able to get away with investing, what the limit would be there, just to be sure I managed it as well. I don't know what the yield is, how the yield is changing on the properties. But yeah, I'm still very keen to do it. Just obviously, like I said, it can be frustrating when you want to try and invest, that you can't because you've just been shut out, or they've only got a certain cap and they've reached the cap. But I mean, in a way, it's impressive. They've got investors across 44 different nationalities, given the makeup of Dubai. It's a very multicultural place, and that 70% of them were first-time property investors, which is what they wanted to do. They don't want it to be wealthy people who already own villas. They want it to be first-time property investors who perhaps don't already own a property, but they still want to sort of buy into the huge property boom we're seeing here in Dubai. So from that point of view, it's a success. And from my point of view, is that, will it be a good return? Is the yield higher than on buying physical property? And I'm pretty sure it is at the moment. And there's a huge waiting list for these things. I'm not sure what their strategy is, but yeah, definitely keen on investing in. I think it's right now. It's not just, but that's where it's not a hype. Actually, is when they launch schemes and they tell you how much the return is and how much people are investing, and you can see it. But for a while, as I was saying, the whole property tokenization was all institutional. It was all big institutions buying big office blocks, towers and stuff like that. And there was no way for the man or woman on the street or the normal retail investor to tap into property tokenization. Now we've got plenty of opportunities to get in from as little as 2,000 dirhams, which is pretty cheap to actually lock into the huge property boom we're seeing here. I just hope we don't see any sort of downturn in the property market.
Now, one to digress, Justin, one question which I wanted to ask you, and this is because you write articles on Khaleej Times for luxury-related goods, isn't it? Do you think the issuers of luxury products, let's say like Louis Vuitton, they would want to do something similar, or would they want to be of a completely different class altogether? They would not want to democratize it, isn't it? What is your thoughts and experience regarding it?
Yes, a good question, actually. What did you mention before? There's a Swedish company.
Shake.io. Yeah. It's from Switzerland.
Was it cars?
No, they've just said that they are focusing on luxury-related things, but I couldn't find any specific details regarding it. They are a registered company from Switzerland.
Yeah, I've done something on the tokenization of luxury, but when it comes to things like private jets, that you can own because obviously a private jet's very expensive to. I know you have your own one, but you're obviously a very wealthy man. But for me, I'd have to think about fractional ownership of a jet that gives me the right to be able to use it once a year or whatever. And so when it comes to luxury, these are luxury assets like yachts, private jets, and supercars. If you're talking now about things like Louis Vuitton or a Birkin bag or a Cartier watch, to own a fraction of one of those, would the brands want that? Because they like the exclusivity. It's a good question. They probably wouldn't want it.
Exactly.
Because we like the fact that it's expensive and there's a huge waiting list. We don't want to democratize it. We want it to be high end and exclusive. But could somebody come along and tokenize a Louis Vuitton bag without the need for permission from Louis Vuitton? If they go and buy all the bags and just tokenize it, do you actually need their permission?
I think that would make sense. Let's say if a celebrity does it. Let's say if Lionel Messi, he buys a bag and he says that, hey, you know what, I want to go in. It is something now we're touching on the lines of NFT, isn't it? Which is also part of tokenization. Then I'm sure the value would maybe be 10x more than that. But let's say if a celebrity is involved, then there would be value for it. But let's say if some average person does it, I mean, this is what I think. I don't think so there might be so much of hype regarding it, isn't it? At least I as a buyer won't be keen in buying that particular token. Maybe someone else would be.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You touched on it earlier when you mentioned the metaverse, which is almost forgotten about now. And and I was talking to someone about it there, and they were asking some really good questions. I can't remember if it was another journalist. I think we went to an event, and they said, right, we've now created a metaverse. We've created this virtual universe, and you'll have a bank. So you could go into this virtual bank, and then they said, and they swore, and I'm not going to swear now. They said, why would I want to go into a virtual bank when in real life I don't even like going into a real life bank and queuing up to be able to pay in a check or withdraw money? Why would I ever want to have a virtual version of that? It's pointless. It's absolutely pointless. Just because you've made my bank virtual in the metaverse and I can exist as an avatar, why would I want that? Because it's not something I enjoy doing. And that's the thing with tokenization. Tokenizing a handbag, isn't the whole point of a luxury good? You want to show off the physical luxury good, walking around Palm or Dubai Mall or wherever you're going to show off how wealthy you are. The token you can't show off the token. So in a way, it kind of doesn't make any sense because it's about status and bragging rights. And you buy the token, like the property, in the hope that it goes up in value, then you might be able to sell it on the secondary market. And I know some handbags do hold their value and go up, but not all of them do. When it comes to luxury goods, watches maybe, you have to really know what you're buying. Limited edition Rolex, say. So no, but I think it's a good point. But also we saw it with NFTs, didn't we? We saw the fashion brand jump on the NFT and you could own the physical shoes or Balenciaga or whatever, but then you could also own an NFT of the shoes as well. So it's almost like phygital. You own the physical, but you could also own a little bit of the digital, and that's kind of, as far as I know, not that popular anymore. But that's a good question. Will we start to see more luxury goods being tokenized?
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting to see, how long the hype of tokenization sustains. I think because Larry Fink and BlackRock is involved, the hype is definitely going to be there for the next couple of years. And I just wanted to touch base, Justin, on some of the steps on Prypco's tokenization plan. So how it essentially works is, the property is listed for 30 days. Then they get the funding was successful. And then they have the SPV creation, that is the special purpose vehicle.
I do actually. Because, again, special purpose vehicle. Special. What does the SPAC stand for? Is it a
special purpose acquisition company?
Yeah. So obviously people will. And again, there was a huge hype about that. How much money into them, and less so. And that's what we're talking about. When the more we discuss some of these things, they've been and gone. NFTs are almost like been and gone. SPACs and SPVs, the metaverse. We know the cycle, the product cycle is much faster now in the digital space. That if they don't capture the audience or enough companies get behind it, they fade away or something new comes along. So that's the thing with tokenization. Will it be the future technology? And will people invest in it? And if not, then something else will come along. But that's the beauty of the free market, I guess, right? And with the world we live in now with AI and how quickly you can set up a company, create products, and reach out to people. If something doesn't, it's a very short window. If something doesn't work or people don't see the potential in it, it will quickly get relegated.
And we forgot about meme coins as well, isn't it? There was this massive hype about meme coins as well. Now, regarding the different steps for, Prypco, you have property listed for 30 days, funding is successful. Then there's the special purpose vehicle creation, which is registered with the DIFC, and then the rental proceeds. But here's the interesting thing, Justin. They're actually working on XRP ledger, which is the Ripple ledger. Now, a lot of people, even in the cryptocurrency space, don't know that Ripple has pretty much nothing to do with blockchain technology as such, because there are no blocks that are chained to the other block. They work on a distributed ledger. Now, do they offer the same guarantee or security? The answer to that is yes. But, when you talk about Ripple, they pretty much have nothing to do with blockchain technology as such. There are no blocks and there are no miners as well. And all of the XRP is already minted. So the Prypco is actually working on the XRP ledger. So, because one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this thing out is because I speak to a lot of clients and they say that, Ripple blockchain is greatest. And I was like, no, they don't use blockchain technology. They work on an XRP ledger. And they have something called validators. And I talked about earlier on regarding Control Alt. Ripple has partnered with Control Alt. And now they're having some really heavy-duty partnership in the world of tokenization. So maybe if someone who wants to get into tokenization, let's say wants to go and buy some real estate property, maybe keep an eye on the real estate partnership news regarding Control Alt and Ripple. And this entire Prypco deal that they have, it is currently under VARA. At the same time, the oversight is with UAE Central Bank. And if I'm not mistaken, Zan Bank, they are the ones who are handling the fiat dirham transaction. And the next thing I wanted to touch base on stake, which we've already touched base upon. Another one, I'm not sure, Justin, if you've heard about this, called as Bison Link. They've also made a move into UAE and they've selected Hedera hash graph. Have you heard of Hedera by any chance? It is, again, not a blockchain.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing you mentioned with Hedera, the hash graph, and Bison Link and all the other Zan Bank. They're kind of like new players that you wouldn't necessarily have heard of unless you're heavy into the Web3 space. And then some move into that domain where they become more mainstream. And I think that's where now people will start to hear of Ripple and XRP and what they're doing in this part of the world and the stable coins as well. And then when people start to do their research and say, well, all I want to use it for is for cross-border transfers. And I say, okay, fine, this is how it works. And I question, would they care that it's not a bona fide blockchain or not. They just, for me, they care how much does it cost and how quickly and how safe is it for me to transfer this amount of money into this country quickly. And so that's the back end. And so when you talk about Hedera, they are not mainstream, right? No one will have heard of Hedera. It sounds like some sort of Greek mythology.
In the cryptocurrency world, I would kind of actually say they are the OGs because they've been going back since a very long time, and they did make quite a lot of buzz. When Ethereum was launched, people are saying that, Hedera Hashgraph will be like the Ethereum killer. I mean, they have made quite a lot of partnership.
Yeah. I agree with you that they were the OG. They're the OGs of alternative blockchain, right?
They're not even blockchain as such. They work on something completely different. It's like a gossip protocol. So essentially, there are no blocks that are changed. But what happens is, as an industry, we talk about Hedera as a blockchain. We talk about Ripple as a blockchain. And, I think blockchain is more of the buzzword, a marketing scheme that people tend to use, isn't it? And one of the drawbacks regarding Hedera was, initially when we talked about the pillars of open blockchain, all the source code is open. Hedera, initially when they launched, the source code was patented. So, you could not just build on Hedera Hashgraph, but I think it was in January of 2022 where, they have made they have something called as Hedera Governing Council. They actually purchased the IP from Swirls and they are committed to make it completely open source. But there are a couple of challenges with that as well. The reason why I wanted to bring Hedera and Ripple's point, because right now, a lot of them, and I'm seeing it via LinkedIn, that they're saying that, blockchain technology is the future, and they're quoting Ripple or Hedera Hashgraph. It is like saying, I have the best bike, but I'm saying that, hey, I have the best four-wheeler. It is a completely different vehicle altogether, isn't it? So as long as, but again, the point which you are making, it doesn't matter because the journey is important. It does not matter how you're going there. An end user and customer doesn't really care, what underlying technology is being used, isn't it?
No, that's the thing. And if Hedera can produce and create what is a faster, fairer, and more efficient, energy efficient blockchain, then people will go with that. And they don't, that's the thing, they don't care. We've often said it about the internet. People don't really care how we can have this conversation, even though we're, potentially 50, 100 kilometers away from each other. We don't really care. We just care about, does it work? And there's no glitches and we can hear each other. The same with the underlying technology. People don't care. They only care when it goes wrong, if it doesn't work. And that's the thing. And so with Hedera, if it can do those things better, then people will move to it as well. The same with XRP not being, a proper blockchain. As long as it solves a solution and you have a problem and you go to it and it fixes that solution the way that fiat currency or on-chain, off-chain doesn't do, then you're happy to use it there. It's only, I think, when you dig it a bit deeper, and we're still in the early stages of Web3 and blockchain, where we've got time now to start looking under the bonnet and investigating what does this do. But if it already existed, we just accept it and use it. Whereas now, because the industry is still evolving and we're still not there yet in whatever capacity we are, what is the finished product of crypto blockchain, people want to understand more about it. But it's like you understand more about Hedera and like the gossip concept of consensus gossiping, and the fact that it doesn't have any real there's no proof of work right on it, stuff like that. So it's like, okay, I didn't even know what that was in the first place, so why do I need to know it now? And if Hedera becomes outdated, my point is it's dangerous to really try and understand something so deep when you're not quite sure what its shelf life is. And that's what I find with tokenization and with the blockchain is, just be careful about, tying your colors, your flag to one mast. Actually, suddenly just becomes outdated. It's such a fast-paced industry.
Absolutely. And I think I just got a message from one guy, by Victor. He said that, Prypco is not the mark. So maybe he's right that Prypco is not the mark. And what he's saying is that it is not linked due to a mirror, but it is a completely different entity. So I think what he's saying is absolutely right. But I think
it's the daughter. It's the daughter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of the founder who's gone, and she's an entrepreneur in her own right, and she's gone off and done her own thing that is premise. So it's not funded or supported by DMAC, right?
I think I might have got that thing wrong. So, I think I might have got and recorrect the notes on that as well. I think I might have got that thing completely wrong.
As in, what did you say? You said it was linked to DMAC.
Well, I think I might have said, I'm not sure, because he told me not to mention that it is not connected to DMAC. I think I might have said that thing by mistake or something.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. She is the daughter when she sits on. I don't know actually. Yeah, I think we probably need to. She's not. Amira Sajrani is not the DMAC chairperson.
Okay.
I don't think she's the daughter of the DMAC chairperson.
I think we have Ben Sharon. Do you want me to get him online? Just introduce Ben Sharon right now. Hey Ben, are you there? Or maybe he might join in the next 7 minutes.
Hey guys.
Hey Ben, how is it going?
What's up? Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. We have Justin Harper as well along with us.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, you too.
So, firstly, thank you so much, Ben, for joining in. Is there
thanks for having.
Is there a bit of delay? I think you can hear us, right?
I have some delay.
No, I think it should be working perfectly fine. Yeah. So, firstly, Ben, thank you so much for joining in. Can you give our audience a bit of introduction about yourself? Because I think I've interviewed you at least twice on the platform, isn't it?
Yeah. Of course, I will give you a brief introduction about myself. So I'm an entrepreneur during the last 11 years. I came from cybersecurity and also fintech background. I used to have a digital marketing company that working only with startups in the field of cybersecurity and fintech. So about 2 years ago, we established Lumishare, that focusing on tokenization of real-world assets with the focus on renewable energy. We created our platform, LumiPlace, that will tokenize and fractionalize solar farms and wind farms, etc., to allow, from one end, renewable energy companies to raise funds in a transparent manner using our platform, and from the other end, for institutional and for the first time in history, to also individual investors to start investing, starting of $500 using our platform. We have our AI-driven risk management tool that will analyze all the needed information, including their contract, the ESG reports and metrics, and other important information in target to make the data accessible for the investors to have a better decision based on real-time data. We launched our platform about 4 months ago on the testnet version. We have more than 10,000 participants, including some institutional investors, some individual investors who are forward-thinking investors from our community, and also from the other end, some solar farms from Europe and other countries around the globe, including the US. So yeah, that's in general about Lumishare, about myself.
And Justin, I have to say that, Ben was one of the first guys who actually mentioned about BlackRock getting into Bitcoin. And this was way before mainstream media was also talking about it. He actually mentioned it 2 or 3 months before everyone else. So he's definitely the OG in the space, in Bitcoin. And even the whole tokenization hype as well, I guess.
Great. Yeah, that's the thing. It's really, spotting those trends before they become too big, to get in on them. As, we were mentioning with George, some of these trends are so fast, they've been and gone before you even know it. And that's what we're talking about, tokenization. Are we at the peak tokenization now, or will it just continue to go up and up and up, or will something else come along and suddenly tokenization will go the way of NFTs in the metaverse?
Yeah. So yeah, the NFT and the metaverse, was a big shot. Everyone was talking about it, and I believe that the metaverse will will make some something in the world, but because we know that Meta by themselves they have a vision on doing something regarding the metaverse, but I think that the market is not still ready for that. I think that even from the technological aspect and all the things behind it are not ready yet. But I believe that metaverse will come through in the next, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. But still, if we are comparing it to real world assets tokenization, it's a small market. It's a minor market because RWA tokenization, if we will talk about it, we will go deeper into the RWA tokenization. It's something like, I don't know, $200 trillion potential in the next 10 or 15 years, because you have only the real estate is about $600 trillion market worldwide, and you have the renewable energy in our case, or you have the bonds, and you have the stocks. As we saw that Solana made some deals at the moment with X stocks, and already made some options to invest in stocks using the Solana and other cryptocurrencies. So this market of RWA tokenization is going to be huge. We saw BlackRock, we saw Ripple that predicting that it's going to be about between 18 to $30 trillion market until 2032. But as I mentioned, I believe that until 2040, this market is going to reach $100 trillion. And we are in just the beginning of this market. We talked, as George mentioned, we talked about the RWA tokenization long before it was a sexy subject as it right now, and everyone are talking about it. Because I recognize that the crypto market and the blockchain and the financial markets in general need something tangible, not only based on speculation, like most of the cryptocurrency market, So that was the idea behind it. That's why I was a believer of the RWA tokenization long ago, a few years ago already.
And via LinkedIn, Ben, a couple of weeks ago you posted about real-world asset tokenization isn't nice to have, but it's a major part of winning, and the post also talks about SPV, that actually hold real estate, legal logic, and smart contracts, and quite a lot of other things. Can you give a bit more information regarding that particular post, because it is very informative, particularly in the world of RWA tokenization? I think it was 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. So regarding the SPV in general, in Lumishare, it's one of the major ideas in our legal structure regarding the tokenization of real-world assets, because we want to mitigate the risk as much as possible for the investors, especially for the small investors, but for all the investors in general. And that's why each of the tokenized projects is housed within a special purpose vehicle, the SPV, in target to protect them. And at the same time, we are the platform is going to be non-custodial. So we are not going to keep the money in our hands. It's going to be, we will keep the peer-to-peer idea of Bitcoin, because I truly believe in the Bitcoin idea, and I believe that Bitcoin is the father of all crypto assets and even blockchain in general. So let's go back to the SPV. The SPV should support and protect the investors. By that, we will create an SPV to each of the companies that want to tokenize and fractionalize their projects using our platform. So, for example, let's say we will have a company in Abu Dhabi that want to tokenize one of their projects. So, for this company specific, for this project, specific, we will create a SPV that will give the authority for the investors to know that they are protected and they should receive part of the revenue the relative part of the revenue for their investment. So if they invested, let's say, George, you invested in this project $100,000, so you will have some part of the tokens, and you will have some authority into this company.
Okay.
Meaning that you will be allowed to receive a part of the revenue that will be shared, the revenue share from this project specifically. So they're going to raise, for example, €10 million, and you invested 100,000. So you will receive, let's say they will announce that they are going to share between 8 to 15% or 13% of the APY. So you will be allowed to receive this amount. And no matter if our company or project is still alive or not, you will have the legal entity behind it and the SPV. So you will have the ability to request and to receive this amount of revenue sharing. That was the idea in general.
Excellent, excellent. Any questions, Justin?
No, it makes sense to me. Yeah, it is. It's exciting. You know, it's an exciting time to be here. I think there's so much has happened in this space.
Yeah.
We just maybe get a little bit numb to it, but yeah, there's still a lot of excitement. You know, deals, partnerships, and growth. You know, there's still to come.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I do have a very specific question though, Ben, and this is something which you posted on Next. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, where you talked about, 50% of the treasury tokens will be burnt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's specifically for the Lumi token, our token that listed on MEXC. We are going to make a big move. We are going to burn 50% of the total supply from our treasury wallets in target to show our belief in the project, that we are here for the long term. We are unlike other projects. We are not here for the short term. We are building deeper, and we have our product that it's the heart of the company, the RWA tokenization, the Lumi place. So as part of that, we are going to burn in a few different burning events 50% of the total supply from our treasury wallets. That's in general. And of course, we are going to share the transaction hash on the social media, etc. after each of the burning events.
And I also wanted to find out, you guys are focusing more on Europe and US. Why not in the Middle East? I mean, are there any plans to do it maybe in the next couple of years, or maybe in Saudi Arabia as well?
We are focusing on the Middle East, of course, especially the UAE. We already have the company established in Abu Dhabi. The main company is established. Our headquarters are in Abu Dhabi. So, of course, we are going to focus on our Abu Dhabi and the Middle East as well. That's the base of our company. But we want to expand into the US and Europe as well, because we are meeting with a lot of institutional investors from the green energy and clean, and also ESG from Europe and the US. And it's super important for them that we will comply not only to the Middle East legal structure, but also to the SEC and MiCA, etc. So that's why we want to expand, and we have big plans ahead. We want to play by the rules. We play by the book. We don't want to focus only on one area, and that's it. We want to expand, and we want to allow the big scoop of investors worldwide to make this product and the platform in a global scale,
Yeah, I think what you're saying does make a lot of sense. And, lately there's a lot of hype regarding tokenization. And I think you were one of the first person to share the video of Larry Fink, and which we discussed earlier on as well. I think it was a CNBC interview, isn't it? That's one of the reasons why there's so much of hype regarding tokenization. Any question, Justin, that you have regarding renewable energy and tokenization, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Renewable energy is big in the UAE, but how scalable is it? How many other countries do you think would be keen on tokenizing renewable energy?
So I believe that we are just at the beginning of the renewable energy tokenization, and still we know that this industry is very old-fashioned. They are still have only two options for funding. They have the banks, which is super slow and bureaucratic, and also they have the equity partners, and not equity in general, sorry, but let's say the big institutional, the outdated institutional that we met with a lot of them, and they told me that their main challenge and problem is that everything is slow. Even if we are talking about the multi-billion-dollar asset under management of renewable energy projects, they still have the ability to make a due diligence and work with only a few projects every year. I'm talking about the big guys,
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to open this market. We are going to allow them, instead of 3 or 4 projects every year, they will have the ability, at the beginning, I'm talking about the first year, they will have the ability to work and to invest in about between 10 to 15 different projects every year. So it's more than triple. It's something like 5x rather than the current situation. And more than that, in the next future, let's say in 2 to 3 years ahead, after we will have all the licensing in the Europe and the US, they will have to make even 20 to 30 different projects, investments every year. So it's totally different, exponentially growth. And also, we know that because of the EVs, because of the AI, because of the data centers and the smart cities, the demand for energy is growing from year to year. The need for electricity, for energy, is growing. If we want it or not, the need for electricity from year to year is needed more and more. And from the other end, the oil and gas is, people realize that it's not really good for Earth, for us. So, and anyway, we will not have the ability to have enough energy production using these old methods. So people understand the need for new ways for funding. And I met with tens of CEOs and CFOs of renewable energy companies, mostly solar farms, solar companies, etc. They understand the need for something different regarding funding and financing in renewable energy. So I believe that we are bridging the gap between the outdated systems to the future, which is RWA tokenization. We all agree about that. So that's what I have in mind. And more than that, it's not only a vision that I have in mind, it's also proven and validated by these institutional investors and also by the companies, the renewable energy companies themselves. I want to give you an example that one of the solar companies, the CEOs told me by himself, something that at least for me makes a lot of sense. He told me that, let's say you are in Dubai at the moment, okay? You have only laptop and you have the ability to purchase a building, a tower in Manhattan from your laptop. You will have the ability to connect a mortgage. You will have the ability to connect with a company that will manage your properties only from your laptop. You don't need to fly to Manhattan, or you don't need to do anything. But if we are going to talk about the renewable energy side investments, it's impossible. Even if you are, I don't know, Elon Musk, if you have even $100 billion available, you don't have the ability to do the same thing with renewable energy. You don't have the ability to finance or to invest in renewable energy projects. So we are going to change it. We are going to be something that is very needed for this market. And also, we know that, as I mentioned before, this market and the demand for energy is growing from year to year exponentially.
And it's all about democratizing, isn't it? And Justin Harper was also sharing his example, which take in quite a lot of other projects and protocol. Now, to digress, Ben, I do have a very specific question, because right now there's this whole narrative regarding, Bitcoin treasury firms. And today in the Blockchain DXB podcast, I also talked about Doge treasury firm. I think one company has about $500 million worth of Doge and just putting it onto the balance sheet. So are there any plans of just buying, let's say, Bitcoin or maybe even Dogecoin and just putting it into the balance sheet for the treasury? I mean, was that too far ahead right now?
Are you talking about the Dogecoin?
Yeah. Well, one company, what they've done is, they have just bought Dogecoin and they're just putting it into the treasury. That's it.
They are doing treasury.
Yeah.
They are doing treasury like the U.S. government are saying saying that they want to do. That's what you mean?
Now, what a lot of companies are doing is, and this is not only cryptocurrency related companies, let's say even a dentistry firm, what they're doing is they're just buying Bitcoin, putting it into the balance sheet. Something similar to Michael's strategy.
I got it. Yeah. A lot of companies are trying to do like a strategy of Michael Saylor is doing right now. I think that it's a good idea. You need to not put all the eggs on the same basket, So you need to see how you can to do it in the right way. And I believe you need to do it with Bitcoin. I don't think that I'm one of the early believers in Dogecoin, by the way, but still, I don't think that Dogecoin at the moment is the best asset to put in your treasury, especially if you are not a cryptocurrency company, because it's very volatile.
Risky,
token. And we know that Bitcoin was super volatile, but after the ETF and all of these major players in the institutional side, and even banks and even governments saw that are investing and putting their treasury in Bitcoin. So now I believe that it will be more stabilized, and you have some floor price for the Bitcoin at the moment because of that, because they are, and even for, if we're talking about strategy themselves, Michael Saylor, they saying that they are not going to sell the token. So you have some stability for this crypto, for the Bitcoin itself, and other institutional investors as well. But so I think that Bitcoin as a treasury is a good idea, but at the moment, I'm not sure about the Dogecoin as a treasury.
Yeah, because lately,
and again, I want to say it again. I super believe in Dogecoin. I'm one of the early investors in Dogecoin, and I believe in this project. I believe that it's going to make a very big noise and going to grow even to 1.5 or even $2. In this cycle, I believe that it's going to grow to $1 or $1.2, the Dogecoin. But again, I'm not sure that it's not volatile enough. Put it in your treasury. It can be very dramatic for your investors.
Yep. Any question, Justin, you have for Ben, Sharon? Or I think I've mentioned some in the list as well. I think we've covered pretty much everything from that list.
Yeah, I like the Dogecoin. I like the bullishness on Dogecoin for sure. And I think even here in Dubai or the UAE, aren't Dogecoin involved with the government here? Not so much with the coin, but I think with the infrastructure or they're definitely linked with some government department here, Dogecoin, aren't they? But I can't remember.
I definitely have not heard of that. Yeah, not heard of that.
I will tell you, I will even refine my answer about that. I believe that once institutional investors, the big guys, will start even to do ETF to Dogecoin. I'm not sure that it's going to happen, but if they are going to do it, so it's going to change the answer.
Yep.
Because after that, you will have more stability, and that's what you need. I'm looking from a business perspective, You want to stabilize your business. You don't want that your treasury will go down in 50% or 70% even after this cycle, So we know how the cryptocurrency market is working, We know that it's going up like crazy for every 2 to 4 years, but from the other end, between you have the gap of the tokens are crashing like even 70% or 80%. We know even the big guys, even the Dogecoin and even Ethereum, etc. So you don't want as a company owner that your treasury will go down dramatically like that.
Yep, true. There are definitely risks associated with that. Now, the final question I have for you, Ben, is, are there any partnership or announcement news that you want to tell our listeners? Any upcoming deals or partnership that you'll be announcing pretty soon?
Yeah, so we are working mostly on the renewable energy side. We are talking with a lot of solar energy companies in Europe, in the US, in the UAE also. So I don't want to share the names yet because I'm the type of person that I'm not the type of person that name dropping, So I just recommended you guys to stay tuned and follow us. We are going to announce more and more new partnerships with major players in the solar farms, in the solar industry, and not only in the solar, by the way, also in other categories into the renewable energy industry. And from the other end, we are working and speaking to a lot of institutional investors that were focusing on ESG, on clean energy, etc. So I believe that we will have some very exciting and interesting announcements regarding new partnerships very, very soon.
That's absolutely excellent. And I just wanted to touch base on two things, because Ben, before you joined in, we were just discussing a couple of points. I'm not sure for many of the listeners at least know that you can do a lot of tokenization on Bitcoin network as well. So essentially in Bitcoin, you have something called as liquid network. And that is getting, and this entire project is actually driven by Tether. It is a project called as Hadron. And they're working on liquid network, which is essentially a consortium and where all the transactions does actually go and take place. So that might be a narrative, which is something a lot of Bitcoin maximalists would actually like when you're talking about tokenization. In the Bitcoin network, it has the strongest network. And apart from that, Dubai Financial Services Regulatory Authority, they have a sandbox and they're inviting a lot of companies to participate in it. So in the show notes, I'll go ahead and mention that link. And the final thing is the Security and Exchange Commission, a security commodity authority from UAE. They've also put out official documents regarding tokenization. But yeah, I think we have covered pretty much everything, isn't it, Justin? I mean, we have covered pretty much everything.
We've covered a lot. Yeah, we've done a full football match, 90 minutes, 1 hour 30 of that across a lot of subjects. So yeah, no, I think there's definitely food for thought. And it's definitely an exciting space, whole tokenization. I think we've just scratched the surface. I think we'll see a lot more activity, a lot more players come in.
Yeah.
And I think even on property alone, as you mentioned, what was that figure? The 60 billion dirhams worth of property is going to be tokenized in the next few years.
2033.
6-7%.
7%, yeah.
Market. That's just property alone.
Amazing.
And it's going to be really interesting to see if you get cars and electric vehicles.
I really admire, honestly, the UAE leadership. I think that they are forward-thinking and really visionaries individuals and entities in general. So they are always one step ahead from everyone else. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yep. Brilliant, guys. So thanks so very much, Ben, for doing this. Thanks so much, Justin, for doing this here. Really appreciate it. And what I'll do is in the show notes, I'll go ahead and mention all the details. I'll go ahead and mention the social media handles as well as all the company-related information in the show notes as well. Thanks so much, guys, for doing this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Justin. Nice to meet you.
Bye.